Hi, everybody. I'm really thirsty. I'm like actually physically thirsty, not as a euphemism thirsty. I just finished my workout. Whew. That was a sweaty one. Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. I was making sure my phone is off, all my bells and whistles are off so we don't get interrupted. So happy to see you all. How are you? Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. What's that behind me? Oh, my iPad. Hi, how is everybody? Here we are again. What is this day? Is this day 5? I'm sort of losing track, which I think is a good thing. And I love that, Weevil. I love that you wrote about, the energy has you reassessing everything you thought you knew. I think that is a really, really fantastic place to be right now. Because I think curiosity and investigation, I think even loving interrogation, speaking of really with ourselves, I think that is one of the most powerful places we can be right now. Can you find a place where you can be in the observer state? I call it, for me, I talk about the inner landscape, right? That's what I call the internal space, which is really, quite frankly, more and more the only thing that's really real. All of this out here is just a projection of what's happening in here. So when I talk about the inner landscape or my inner landscape or your inner landscape, these are just words that I use. You don't have to use them. But the inner landscape is your inner space. The inner temple is the central point of your inner space and the seat of your authority, your sovereign seat or your throne of sovereign authority. I kind of, use multiple words for it. That's your place of pure connection. That's your place when you're in that column. If we can visualize like a column, right? That you are in the midst of. And in this column is it's like the elevator, right? You travel up and down, but let's say it even goes 360 degrees in all directions. But to find that place, that central place in your inner temple, in that seat of authority, and to be in observation of yourself, of your life, of what happens internally when you meet a reflection of yourself externally, and to just watch it. I can observe a thought. I can entertain a thought. I can try on a perspective or an opinion or a belief system. And that doesn't mean I have to claim it as true or that I have to invest myself, my energy, my resources into it. It's like test driving a car or going to try on clothes in a store, right? You just try it on. How does it look? How does it feel? Am I comfortable? Can I move? Do I like what I see reflected back at me through the mirror? I don't have to own it. I don't have to buy it. Thank God, right? Can you imagine if you went into a store and they were like, yeah, you can try in anything you want, but once you try it on, you own it. That's not a very good business model. So I think where we are right now, especially on the other side of this eclipse, which interestingly, we haven't really talked much about, which I find surprising given the fact that, I'm calling this post-eclipse, what the WTF. But we are in a place of really, really, like, what's the word I want? Like dense possibility. And I think one of the most powerful things we can do right now is watch ourselves, watch our thought patterns, watch our processes, watch our patterns of behavior, watch our belief systems. Where are they telling us to go? What are they saying? Right? For me personally, rewind 5 days ago when I did the first installment of this, not thinking anything other than I just need to fucking get online and talk to some people because I'm about to lose it. And at that moment, it was just the only thing that made sense. And as I was kind of watching myself and the processes that were trying to grab hold, right? This is why it's so important to do your work, because once you begin to understand the difference between your natural, native, organic self and the manufactured personality self that you had to become to survive, once you're able to distinguish between the two, you become less and less sticky to the old ways of limitation. right? It's like a snake oil salesman, right? They come to you and they say, ooh, I have this magical thing that will make all of your dreams come true. It will solve all of your problems and it will make everything bad go away. And all you have to do is listen to me, follow me, let me show you how to do it. And we all find ourselves tempted by older versions of ourselves, right? What I wanted at 22 is not the same as what I want at my current age of 52. Now, fundamentally, the truth of who I am wants the same thing, right? Freedom, to be fully expressed, yada, yada, yada. But the self, right? The persona, the personality, to learn the difference between what you really are and what that feels like and how that expression of the divine that you are moves through the world naturally versus, again, who and what you had to become, who you had to believe that you are or were in order to make it in this world. And the quieter you get and the more consistent you are with your inner experience, the easier it is to begin to differentiate. And then over time, the snake oil salesman comes up and says, ooh, I have something magical for you. It'll make all your promises, all your dreams come true and all the bad things go away. And you just look at it and go, no, it won't. It won't, because in order to strike a deal with the snake oil salesman, you have to be willing to do one thing: deny yourself no matter what. Listen to the old program, listen to the fear, listen to the fractured selves, listen to the parts of you that want nothing but for you to be hidden and invisible and small and tiny so you'll be safe and protected. Because that's what it thinks safety is. So, with enough focused devotion to what you do and who you are and what you are, and really understanding what all of those channels are saying, this is where we come into our multidimensional abilities. When you can watch basically all of the channels at the same time. And here's the thing, we already have multidimensional access built into our body, because a dimension is simply a level of focus. So let's think about our senses right now. I have the dimension of touch. And if all I'm focused on is what I can feel through my skin, right? I feel the clothes on my body. I feel the air from the ceiling fan. I feel the chair against me. I feel how I'm still kind of sweaty and it's a little bit sticky. I can feel on the table, I have this glass top table. I can feel my arm kind of sticking to it because it's warm in here, right? I can feel the shoes on my feet. I can feel the glasses pressing up against my ears. I can feel the watch on my hand, on my wrist. Okay, now we turn into the dimension of sound. I can hear the ceiling fan. I can hear birds calling outside. I can hear the dog across the street. When I move, I can hear the creak of the fabric of this chair as I move, right? So we have already multidimensional access. And it's a really interesting and actually quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Effective way to begin to tune into the different frequencies within your body and with your being and within your field. Right? So you can tune into a specific frequency of that sense and what it is attuned to, right? Our sense of smell, our sense of taste, sight, sound, touch, all of those things tap us into a different dimension that is completely unique unto itself, but is also part of a much greater experience. Imagine if you were just a sound. Imagine if your consciousness wanted to know itself as only a sound. There's form there because sound has vibration. And if something vibrates, then it oscillates. And if it oscillates, it has a frequency. And if it has a frequency, it has a sound. And if it has a sound, it can be mapped geometrically. So if it has geometry, it can be visible. So we can make sound visible, but sound itself, you don't see the words coming out of my mouth, right? So that is a frequency. That is a layer of reality. That is a dimension. That's all dimensions are. They're just another channel on the television. A dimension, if we look at this little piece of crystal I have faceted, imagine you're in the middle of it, right? Imagine in the center of this little faceted piece of crystal, This is where you reside, right? Imagine that this is your inner temple. And within the center of this is where your little seat of authority is. And you reside in here all of the time at your purest level. And depending upon which face, right, which facet of this crystal you are looking at, you are going to get an entirely unique and entirely different experience. And you may be convinced as you look through this one singular facet that, oh, this is real. This is the only thing that's real. This is the only thing that's happening. This is the only version of reality. No, that is where you are currently focused. And so all of you is focusing in partnership with you. But to believe that just one facet is showing you the whole picture, nonsensical. To believe that one singular dimension can illustrate all of creation for you, nonsensical. Now, we will always find similarities no matter where we go. That's what universal truth is. When something is true with a capital T, it is true on all levels. When something is a lower t truth, it's a temporary truth. It is a temporary construct that we play within in order to experience or achieve a specific or desired result or experience. But those lower t truths do not hold weight outside of the context of your experience. Think of like a sports game, right? Like football, American football, any football, doesn't matter. But think of football, any sport. You go onto the field, and within the construct of the game, you volunteered as a player. You said, yes, I love this game so much. I want to play it professionally or, for fun, whatever. And so we enter into a context and a construct that is temporary and only true within the context of that experience. The rules of football do not apply outside of the context of football. It's the same thing with the human experience. The rules that the human self has created generally do not exist outside of the context of the singular human experience or that moment. Do you understand me? Are you tracking? Is this way too far out there for Sunday morning? My point here is when you begin to question what you believe, what you've been taught, what you've been told, how you've been programmed, when you begin to question, suddenly you go, oh my God, look at all of these frickin' other facets. Look at this seemingly infinite number of other ways, not right, not wrong, not good, not bad, just additional, just alternative ways that I can look through this lens of my experience. Oh my God, look, some are dark, some are light, some have color, some don't, some are clear, some are layered. So when you begin to question your reality, you suddenly go, oh my God, look at all of the things that are around me that I didn't even see. It's like a video game. The world exists, but when the camera, I play a lot of Zelda, but when I'm playing Zelda and the camera is pointed here, then the other, 260 degrees of the reality, if we're using the 360-degree analogy, they exist, but they're not being viewed. So they're not existing in the way that we can perceive them, right? It's the question, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there, does it make a sound? Yes, but it's a different kind of sound. It's a sound that manifests as unheard. But the minute that you tap into it and you go, what is that frequency? Now it's real. Now it's a thing. Now it's coming to your actuality because you're acknowledging, oh, there's that sound. What is that sound? Now it has something to connect to. It's the same with a belief. If you believe that you are the most amazing person that has ever lived and you genuinely believe it, it's not fake confidence like we see on social media, right? Hashtag no fucks given. Yeah, pretty sure the one that uses hashtag no fucks given is the one that has the most fucks to give. But I digress. We're using some pop psychology here. The point being is when you begin to question things, when you look at a belief and you go, is that really real? Right? If you stop and you objectively look and you go, wow, for 40, 30, 20, 50, 60, 70, however many years you've got under your belt in this body, for however many years, I have always believed this is true and I never questioned it. But the minute that you question it, you unlock the rest of the world. You open yourself up. There's this really, really fascinating study, and I've shared this many times. If you've been watching me for any length of time, you've probably heard me mention this. And I say this every time that I quote this study. I need to get better at documenting my sources. However, there is a professor at a college somewhere on the East Coast. That's as specific as I can be. Apologies. And he used to do this study about how the brain works in terms of the information that it filters and what it allows us to perceive. So he has this, and it's all about bias, right? So he tells a group of students, I'm going to show you a video of of two teams on a field, and the teams are throwing a ball back and forth. What I want you to do is I want you to count how many times the ball is being thrown back and forth. And so the students are very diligent, and they get their pens and their paper, and they're watching, and they're going, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they watch the video. And then he says, okay, everybody tell me how many times did they throw the ball back and forth? And they say 15, 16, 17, it's all close to around this number. And then he says, okay, how many times did the gorilla walk back and forth? And everyone goes, what? What gorilla? What are you talking about? And then he replays the video. And guess what? For the entirety of the video, while the two teams are throwing the ball back and forth on the field, there is a mascot dressed up in a gorilla costume walking back and forth the whole time. This proves the very real fact that our bias of expectation, which is just history. Without history, you would have no concept of expectation. Understand that. Our bias tells us what is real, what is true, what is possible, and what is not. We perceive less than 5% of objective reality. And this experiment proves it. And he replays the video, and there's the gorilla walking back and forth, plain as day. It's because the mind was told there's one specific thing that you are going to see and that I need from you, and that's all I need from you. That's all that exists, and that's the only thing that you are to pay attention to or focus on. The power of the suggestion to the mind that all I want you to do is see the teams throwing the ball back and forth. That happened in less than 10 minutes? I wasn't there, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that from the time the professor laid out the rules of the experiment, showed the video, got the feedback, and then showed it again, it couldn't have been more than 15 or 20 minutes. So within 20 minutes, that professor was able to hoodwink the mind of all of his students. Imagine what would happen to you if you grew up and heard the same fucking lie every single day for 20 years. Add to the fact that most likely that lie was programmed into you by someone that you trusted or believed in or perceived as an authority figure or someone more powerful than you. So, of course, you are not going to question, especially as a child, because your number one priority as a child is to do one thing, and that is bond with your caregiver. You're not worried about what is true and what is not. You're worried about getting fed, having your diapers changed, and being safe. So to question what you have been told, what you have been taught, is not only your right, I think it's your fucking duty. Imagine what would happen if even 10% of the population woke up tomorrow and said, you know what? I think it's time to become so unequivocally accountable for my contribution to the version of reality that I am living in. I am going to open up, unravel, unbox everything. And then I'm only going to proceed with the things that have proven themselves to me. If everyone did that, can you imagine what an amazing place it would be? So we have a duty to ourselves, first and foremost, to examine everything that we have been taught is true, to examine every means that we have been programmed to believe is the best way to get something or acquire something. And we see all around us these depletion-based models. right? I'll just mine it until it's barren and then move on. I'll just use those employees up, run them into the ground until they're too sick or too angry or too, whatever to work. Oh, we'll just get new ones. It's about sustainability. It's about reciprocity. It's about inclusion and access. I'm going to drop something here that may be controversial, but whatever. Equality doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. I think the concept of equality, we've been duped. We have been chasing a carrot on a stick that has no finish line. Now, equal access, that is entirely different. Entirely different. And I think about my plants, and this is why I believe that equality doesn't exist. If I treated every single plant that I grow the same, at least half of them would die. Plants that create vegetables or flowers or that are deciduous or that are perennial or are annual or are root crops or seed crops, all of them need something different and unique. Now, all of them need water and sunshine and dirt and nutrients and all of that, just like humans. We need water, we need food, we need love, we need shelter, we need community, we need connection. So it's about access. It's not about equality. No, equality doesn't exist. And I don't want equality. If I'm coming to you because you are the world's greatest pastry chef, I'm coming to you because I don't know how to bake, half of the things that you do. So I want you to not be I don't want you to be my equal. Someone who's my equal isn't going to be able to teach me anything. I want someone who is better than I am at things. I want someone who knows more than I do. Otherwise, what am I going to learn? So this idea that we're all going to reach some utopian state, we're all just standing around with the exact same thing, being treated the exact same, doing the exact same thing. No, it doesn't exist. It's not real. Equality is a myth, y'all. It doesn't now, access is what it's about. We should all have equal access to the fundamental things that are required simply to live as a human in a body. Right? It's the same thing with my plants. I've got plants in the dirt out here, and then I also have plants in really nice, pretty planters. It just depends on what I want, but I treat them all the same in that I give them what they need to survive and to thrive. But this idea that because some plants are in a pretty pot and some are in the dirt, that some are better or some aren't, no, that's stupid. That's stupid. We spend so much time looking around at everybody else's container and being angry because we're not that. When the only thing you have to do, oh my gosh, thank you, Weevil. That's so sweet. I appreciate your generosity. When all we have to really do is look at ourselves and go, well, what am I the best at? What is my magic? What is my medicine? So treating layers of self as equals is preposterous. Treating them all as important, that is magic. But there are parts of you that are only going to be happy when you're miserable. There are parts of you that only know how to thrive in chaos and discord and discomfort and struggle and suffering. Okay, cool. I'm glad I have those aspects of me that know how to do it when the going gets tough. But I'm not going to let that part of me drive the bus. That's not the part that's going to write my manual for living. The part of me that sees everybody as an adversary, right? And we're getting into the shadow realm here, which is another thing I want to talk about. The difference between shadow and corruption. To me, shadow and darkness, we all have them. We all need them. They're all a necessary, integral part of being a being. Without contrast, i.e., light and dark, I would never know where anything is. Spirit uses light and dark to show us where she is. Otherwise, it's just a blank white wall or an endless black sky with no stars. I can't tell what either one of those things are. There's nothing there. It's just flat. There's no depth. There's no contour. There's no shape. There's no form. So darkness and the shadow is what we are just as much as we are light. We need darkness. Seeds need darkness to germinate. The egg is dark inside. It's dark inside our bodies. There are plants that need the dormancy of winter and the really, really short daylight hours in order to thrive. So we need darkness. This is why I get so critical of the love and lighters. And I certainly don't mean to create an exclusive place here. If someone's a love and lighter or a douchey, big watch bro driving a rented Lamborghini, hey, that's cool. You're still welcome here. I don't dislike you. Maybe I make fun of you. And please don't misunderstand that. That's not about your value as a human. But it really irks me when I hear people talking about get rid of the shadow, destroy the ego, get rid of those things. No, that's just as much a part of you as the light. And those shadow aspects are the part of you that helped you make it through when you were so overwhelmed and so terrified and so traumatized, you couldn't even string together 3 words. So, in many ways, we owe ourselves just as much to the shadow as we do to the light. Now, there's a difference. I'm not talking about corrupted, perverted, intentionally imbalanced geometry. That is evil. That is demonic. That is perverted. That is not natural. Well, you just got to love it, Weevil. Your darkness isn't out to get you. It just wants to be felt in the same way that your light is. All the darkness wants is for you to embrace it and pull it close as readily as you do the light filled parts. That's it. That's it. And we talk about these avatars of the feminine and these avatars of the masculine, right? The feminine shows us there's Mother Mary and there's Kali, and they are both a part of the full spectrum of the feminine energy. The feminine brought you in, and the feminine takes you out. So, learning how to sit with your darkness and invite it in for a cup of tea is when the magic starts. All it is a little kid who had to put on a scary monster mask to get your attention. It's the same reason we all see those kids growing up that become the bad seed, right? Why are they so bad? Why are they so angry? They're always in trouble because that's the only way they can be seen, or that they believe they can be seen, is to show themselves as broken or angry or in pain, right? So, we need, and I don't mean to minimize the intensity of you sitting with the shadow, because trust me, as someone who's just recently come out of that portal of the shadow experience, it's intense. It is really fucking heavy duty. But when I tell you with all honesty that your shadow can be just as much a source of stability and strength and comfort as your light can be, there are animals that are nocturnal. Without the darkness, half of the living creatures on this planet would die. So you need your shadow. You cannot have one without the other. And that's why we go to the extremes. That's why we go all the way to the extreme love and light. And then we go all the way to the deepest, darkest, angriest, most venomous, vengeful shadow. And why do we go to the furthest reaches of our awareness? Because that's the only way you can find the middle. Those who tell me that they found their center and that they've ascended or they're enlightened and they have no idea that the shadow even exists are completely misguided. You are incomplete without your shadow. You are incomplete without your shadow. Just as you are incomplete without your light. Your death is just as valuable as your birth. Your wellness is just as valuable as your illness. Your pain is just as valuable as your joy. So we've got to open ourselves to all of it. And that is the way of the future. Because at some point, in probably a lot less time than any of us could conceive of, there are going to be a whole lot of people waking up looking for support, guidance, clarity, triage, medicine, love, comfort, reassuredness, certainty. And you know how I am able to walk with you into your shadow realm? You know how I am able to come face to face with your demons? Like that scene in Alien when the alien queen is right there in Ripley's face and she's snarling? You know why I can do that? Because I've done the same with myself. I have looked myself in other lifetimes that were horrifying to me to reconcile what I did as another being was horrifying. But once I realized that spirit is not judging that lifetime, spirit is allowing that lifetime, then I realized that the only true judgment is coming from within. So the more deeply I was able to find love and compassion and acceptance for my shadow, and thank it for its willingness to take charge when I was so messed up I couldn't even barely open my eyes. Thank God I had survival mode to keep me going. And now that I can sit down and have tea with Mother Mary and Kali at the same table and we can laugh and cackle about all of this, that's how I can walk with you into your shadow realm. That's how I can stand next to you while you face your wounds and your pain and your suffering and not bat an eye. Because once you realize that the darkness is simply your partner in life and in light, you stop fighting it. And then you become fully realized. Then you become fully expressed. Then you become embodied. And now, what the hell do I have to be afraid of? So, your darkness, while we certainly don't go hunting for suffering and struggling and pain, when it arrives, we understand it's simply a divine emissary. One of the best things you can do, and this is one of the notes in my book, Notes from the Higher Self, one of the best things you can do is relieve yourself of having to decide if something is right or wrong, good or bad. That's not up to you. That's none of your fucking business. Let spirit sort that out. Your only job is to know and trust and allow the fact that the only reason I'm having any experience is because there's value here. That's it. That's it. So, okay, spirit, remind me of how to connect so that I can really take on the value here, so that I can really get it and understand it and surrender myself to it so that life can move through me. Life is here to be lived. And it's going to do it one of two ways: by default, while you're half asleep, or consciously and on purpose in alignment with your intentions. But life is going to happen one way or the other. Life is going to live one way or the other. That's the whole point of creation. It's not static, it's not stagnant. And it's not that everything has consciousness, everything is consciousness. Everything has a level of awareness. So no matter what you're doing or what you're experiencing or what you're believing or not believing or resisting or accepting or chasing or whatever or avoiding, you are in spirit. So when we can forgive ourselves for the nasty thoughts, the angry thoughts, the vengeful thoughts, the violent thoughts, and realize, oh, that's just my shadow's contribution. Because I'm going to be fucking honest, there's a part of me that would be thrilled to just burn it all down. There's a part of me that thrives on chaos. He wants nothing more than to consume it. He's a chaos eater. Okay, yeah, I'm aware you, dude, but you're not the one that gets to set our agenda for the day. Now, when I really need to let the shadow out to play, you're the one I'm going to call on. When I'm faced with something that I'm not sure I can contend with, I'm letting the shadow fucking rip. And it doesn't go out of control because I am grounded in it and it is grounded in me. It is a part of me now, so it can't go off on its own. It must abide by what's happening internally. That's the law. Energy has one purpose, and that is to serve. And just like life, it will show up and it will do what it can do, regardless of how aware you are. So make it intentional, make it on purpose. Stop for a minute and take a breath and drop in and get clear on how you feel. And if how you feel is what you like, proceed. If what you're feeling doesn't feel great, then stop. Because feeling is always the first step of manifestation. The feeling is the manifestation coming into form. So when you're thinking about something and you're going, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. And you go, oh, God, that feels horrible. Right? Back to what Weevil said at the very beginning. Question yourself. Why does this part of me want to go over here and do all these things? Well, because it thinks that that is safety. Because that's what it understands. That's the only language it speaks. So if you don't want the part of you to lead you into chaos and trauma, then say, hey, babe, no, we come over here. We don't go over there anymore, right? So at some point, once you find that seat of authority, you realize, oh, I don't go to you. You come to me. The sovereign doesn't chase. The sovereign allows. The sovereign invites. The sovereign welcomes. But the sovereign doesn't chase. What you are seeking is also seeking you. So the sooner you stop grasping and second guessing, the sooner it can find you. So we must question ourselves. We must be excruciatingly accountable for what we have wrought. And I want to say thank you to so many of you, especially those who have been reflecting to me. You know, there's some people who've been following me for, 10 plus years. And some of you had shared very honestly and very openly with me why you had stopped following or why you had stopped engaging or why. And it was really, really, at first, I'll be honest, it was hard. It was a tough pill to swallow to go, ugh. But yeah, I did that. And there's so much liberation to go, yeah, that was a choice. In hindsight, it was not the most generative, supportive choice, but it was a choice. And that's the beauty of this reality. There's only two things happening, either choice or outcome. That's it. That's as simple as it gets. So if you don't like what you're seeing, change what's happening in here. You don't change this by yelling at the mirror. So you don't change your reality by screaming at the reflection. You use the reflection of an indicator of what you've chosen and what you've believed in. It's not a judgment. It's not a punishment. It's just the way it works. So the sooner you go, oh, wow, this really sucks. How did I get myself here? Well, I don't know, but I bet I can find out if I shut up long enough and go inside and listen to myself, and then am willing to take accountability and accept the answers that I get. That's freedom. Freedom was I can look around at my life and love it all. Freedom is when I can look around at my life and say yes to all of it being there. Yep, you're here, but you're not in charge. You're not active. You're not a predominant influence, but yeah, you're there. So take the time to question yourself. More importantly, take the time just to listen to yourself. I'm going to share a little brief story with you, and then I'm going to, personal responsibility and accountability is sexy. It's really fucking sexy. Give me a strong, burly man who's in touch with himself, but can also build a house, isn't afraid to cry, but takes total accountability for what he's done or hasn't done. Put a ring on it, dude, because I'm there. But what I'm talking about in terms of your thoughts and how our awareness of our inner dialogue can be so liberating. This was 2015, 2016. I was still living in Seattle at the time. I'd been dating this guy casually. We were just kind of getting to know each other. And I was really into him. I was like, God, this dude is cool. He's, sensitive. He's strong. He's a chef. Like, he's really sexy. He's going to make me amazing food. And we were having a phone conversation one day, and it was a great conversation. I loved it. I was laughing. I was feeling so at ease with this dude. I was like, God, he's so cool. And I hung up the phone, and there was this little greasy, little slithery thought that almost, like, it was so fast, I almost didn't catch it. And the thought said, oh, well, that's too bad that you like him, because if he's being nice to you, it means he doesn't like you. And that thought came and went in probably less than like a 32nd of a second. It was so fast. And what? Wait, what was that? And I grabbed that little fucker by the tail and I pulled that thought back and I just sat with it. And I was like, wow. There, up until this moment, there was a thought active within me that said, if somebody's being nice to you, it means he doesn't like you. Think of that as a rule for living. Imagine if that was an actual law. This is what I'm talking about. The rules of football are only relevant to football. The rules of my inner mind, the distorted, warped, traumatized self that said the only guys that like you are the ones that are mean to you, which is essentially what that message meant. That rule is only influential and only real and only exists if I allow myself to exist within that context. But here's what happens. The minute that I question and I turn to it and I go, wait, what? Now I bring it to me. Now it lives within me, and anything that is within me is under my authority. When I question it, I immediately switch the balance of power. Now I am no longer living within a lie. The lie is now living in within me, and I have taken accountability for it, and I have accepted it as something that I formerly believed was true, and now it lives within me. Now it is under my influence. Now it is under my authority. And my number one rule is everything is welcome, but only love can stay, and no emotional terrorism. If you want something from me, you got to be direct, you got to be honest, and you got to come true. No bullshit, no hidden agendas, no tricky dicky stuff. So if you want to change it, accept responsibility for it, pull it into yourself, and then you can affect it. When you remember that it lives within you, but as long as you believe that you live within the confines of that system, that belief, it controls you. It has power and authority over you. And guess what? All of that power and authority is imaginary. Just like the power and authority that those who used to think that they ruled us had. Former, had, past tense. The matrix lives within you. So the sooner that you do your work to get rid of all the sticky things that attract the matrix to you, the faster you get the fuck out. So when you collapse the things within you that are sticky to the matrix can't find you. There's no GPS signal. There's no ping. There's nothing to triangulate. So you walk straight through the forest fire. You walk through the minefield. Oh, I'm a little sweaty. And that's all that happens. Invest yourself in what is true for you. Invest yourself in getting right with this and watch how it all just magically unfolds. Thank you, everybody. I love hanging out with you. We'll be doing this tomorrow, same place, same time. Excuse me. Donation links are going to be below, Stripe and PayPal. If you're interested in sharing, and I appreciate it when you do. And even if you don't, I don't mind because I love just hanging out with you. So spread the word. Like, share, and subscribe. Because I think now more than ever, we need voices like mine and we need gatherings like this to explode. I want everybody to know about this because this is where we begin to remember how to save ourselves. That's the whole point. What do I say? If you want to save the world, save yourself and then tell everybody how you did it. And then just go step in the direction of your fullest expression, your greatest desire, your most exciting, sparkly, lit up passion. That's all you have to do. Spirit does the rest. How? When? None of your business. Mwah. Love you. See you soon.